me apologize for not being there in person. I had decided to take a couple of days off after the election, came up to my house here in North Carolina, and the last thing I thought I was going to have to do is get dressed and get ready and get back there, but I will be back by the weekend. So here's what we know so far. This morning, 3 of our motor officers out of the traffic division were working traffic enforcement out on Southern Boulevard, that's State Road 80. And they were doing it between 20 Mile Bend and Pratt Whitney Boulevard, clocking cars that were coming eastbound in those lanes. One of the motormen, after a contact with one of the motorists, could not get his motorcycle started, so he thought he had a dead battery. So he called the other 2 over to help him, moved the bike off the road. They were all 3 on the grassy area on the shoulder of the road, and they were going to wait for another PBSO vehicle to come with some battery cables. Eastbound was a vehicle driven by a female. She was in the center lane and obviously came upon a vehicle that was going much slower than she was and took action to veer to the right, which was in the same direction as the shoulder of the road. She overcompensated, got off the road, and then struck all 3 of the motor officers, at which time all 3 went airborne in different directions. The officer and deputy that were headed that way actually saw what had happened and was able to get over there and call some assistance. The paramedics got out there. All 3 of them were transported to St. Mary's Hospital. Unfortunately, 2 of them were deceased. The 3rd one went to surgery, is now in ICU. He's in critical but stable position, and hopefully he's going to make it. But it's a bad crash. We are jointly investigating this with FHP. Our traffic homicide division is working it in conjunction with them. It's going to be an extensive investigation. Preliminarily right now, and there's more tests to be done. It doesn't look like the driver was impaired. It just looks like one of those things where she overcompensated and got off the road. Terry Barbera will furnish all of you with all the information, personal information on the 3 deputies that were involved in this crash. And you'll have that with a picture of them within the next half hour, 45 minutes. So that's where we're at right now. Horrific accident. But, I tell people all the time, law enforcement, public safety, and the military are the only professions. When you leave the house and kiss your family goodbye, that might be the last time. And here's the example of it. I'm sure that these deputies, not in their wildest dreams, thought that this was going to happen to them today. So, when a deputy dies, a piece of the community dies with them. It's tough. I plan on, I plan on talking to the family later today on the phone. I will meet with them when I get back over the weekend. And in the meantime, we're going to be planning what the funeral arrangements are for them, which I'm sure will be in the Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday time frame. So that's what we know right now, folks. I'll take a few questions if you have them.
Sir, Michael Williams, Channel 5. Do we know, did they all have spouses and or children? Give us a little sense of their background first, please.
Michael, I can't hear you. You're going to have to speak up a little bit.
Sir, did they have, all of them have spouses, children? Give us a little more sense of who they were. We know we'll get names from Terry. But
well, I don't know the personal statistics on them. I did see all of them last Tuesday night at my watch party after the election there. They had all stopped by there to say hi because they were out there with Trump going to escort him. So I actually saw those guys.
And sir, early on, what sense that whether speed played a role? You said she veered from a car moving more slowly. I know it's very early on, but any sense of the speed at which the SUV may have been moving?
Well, that's going to be yet to be determined. There's a lot of calculations that have to be done. Preliminarily, I mean, the speed limit's 55. That's still pretty quick. So most of the damage is fairly consistent with that, but they'll be able to give us an exact speed when they do all the calibrations.
What is the condition of the SUV driver? Was anybody else in the vehicle with the SUV driver? What is that woman's condition, and where is she?
No, from what I understand, she was by herself, and she's not got very minor injuries. But yeah, you know, it's just one of those things. Sometimes if you overcompensate and your tires get off the edge of that road, it can grab that wheel and it's hard to get it back on.
Sheriff Terry Parker, PBF 25 News. Were the two deputies that did not make it, were they deceased right there at the scene, or were they taken to the hospital where they died later?
No, they were pronounced deceased at the hospital. They were airlifted there, and they worked on them for as long as they could there. They were injured so badly they just weren't going to make it.
And Sheriff, we heard that was a very emotional scene at the hospital with so many deputies, commanders, people from other agencies just in shock. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, when these things happen, I mean, law enforcement is a very close-knit group to start with, and we all know each other. I've received phone calls from United States senators, congressmen, other sheriffs, members of the community, you know, saying we're so sorry that this happened, because they know that these deputies and the men and women of law enforcement are out here to protect them. So like I said, when you lose a deputy or you lose a law enforcement officer, you lose a little piece of the community.
Sheriff, talk about a little bit more generally about their background, how long they've been with PBSO or the traffic division, and did we understand you correctly to say that they'd also done dignitary detail for the former and again soon-to-be president recently or frequently? Well,
it's not unusual for us when we're doing traffic enforcement to have the three motorcycles together. What they do is they clock one person and flag them over, and in the meantime, the other two deputies can pay attention to the traffic. The fact that they were trying to help the other deputy get the bike started, their attention kind of was on that versus what was on the road, but they felt safe because they were off the roadway. They were over on the shoulder of the road where there was no traffic, so they felt pretty comfortable about being over there.
At this point,
all right, folks, that's it for today. Again, Terry Barbera will get you the photos and the information on the deputies. And if there's any more information that comes to light that is different than what we talked about today, she will update you. Thanks again.